Bow. The camera is shaking because he's pushing the tripod. Stop. Come here. People want to say hi to you. If you hear meowing in the back, it's usually this guy. Always when I'm filming, he just wants to hang out. Any other time, he is doing his own thing, but if I'm working, if I'm recording, then it's usually him. He's purring so hard right now. Here, listen. The other guy that likes to meow is this little guy. Hey! Hi! So I have a new hobby and it's called fountain pens, and I still don't know anything about it, but let's pretend I'm a professional and I'm making this YouTube video. You went on YouTube and you looked up fountain pen for beginners and this video popped up, so I'm gonna tell you everything I know, which is also from a POV of a novice. My new hair clips just came in. I will probably, I think by the time this video comes out, my store may be open. I have a bunch. Here's some other designs. And here's some other designs. Okay, let me show you my fountain pens. So these are all of the pens that I have. And just for some context, I used to be very skeptical of fountain pens. A lot of my friends carried them, but I didn't understand the appeal of them. I did try them out. It kind of just felt like a glorified ballpoint pen. Like, why would I pay extra money for a fancy ballpoint pen? But recently I took a trip with my artist friends, and since we spent a lot of days together, we were trading and swapping art supplies, and I got 3 days to try out some of their fountain pens, and after 3 days I was convinced. So I wanted to make this video to talk about what are the things that I do like, where was my skepticism, what are all the different brands that I tried, because I ended up buying all of these fountain pens and I will probably get more. Alright, let me get into the details of some of the things that I do love about fountain pens. This is the first one that I ever bought. It's from Twisby, and I found out that you can customize a lot from fountain pens, to the top, to the outside. So this one that I got is a clear one. The ink that you deposit will also change the color of the aesthetic of the pen. So I have this pink ink inside. I also found out that all the nibs are different sizes and have designs on them as well. These ones are all Jinhao. They're the second brand that I bought. You can see that this one has a different design on the nib and it's marked M for medium, so it's thinner than the Twisby that I have. This one is the Pilot pen. It's clear, and unlike the other ones, it has an ink cartridge. So for the other pens, they have internal filling mechanisms, so you can just deposit the ink directly into the pen. But for the Pilot, it comes with a cartridge that you actually will insert into the pen. Also, look at the nib. It's so cute. It has a little face. So this is actually my first time putting in the cartridge, and basically you will insert it like this, and then you will also want to squeeze the cartridge itself so that ink will come out. So let me just demo for you guys here. So once the cartridge is nicely squeezed in, it should be able to write nicely onto paper. The Pilot that I have is a medium tip. I don't know, it kind of feels thicker than the other medium Jinhaos that I have, but it's really nice and it's really scratchy. And you can buy a converter so that you can put different colors inside. That's something that I learned, is you can get converters to put different inks, or you can use the cartridge that already came with the pens. This one here is a long knife tip. I actually got it on Amazon and it was rated as the #1 fountain pen on their website. So I mostly got it just to see like what's the big deal with a #1 rated, and it's, you know, to each their own. I think at first when I tried the long knife tip, it was a little too scratchy for me. I did end up really liking it just because of the scratchiness.
This one is a TWSBI as well, but it is the extra fine tip. I'm not as much of a big fan with the extra fines. I really prefer the bold ones. So here's another TWSBI that I got with the bold tip, and you'll see the difference between the thickness of the strokes. Again, TWSBI already has its own like internal ink filling mechanism, so unlike the Pilot, you don't have to get extra cartridges, you can just refill the ink itself. This one is the same brand as the long knife one. Oh, the brand, by the way, is Hongdian. I filled it with some red ink, and yeah, similar to the TWSBIs, it has its own internal filling mechanism. So this one, instead of the long knife, I got the fine tip, and I got the fine because I already had the broad, I already had the medium, I had the extra fine, so I wanted variety. Here are all the inks that I have. They're all from Sailor. The red one that you guys just saw. Here's a purple one, which is in my Jinhao. And then here's a green Washington one, which is really, really nice. Hi, Nori. Alright, so let's actually look at the first couple pages that I tried using fountain pen on. This was when I was trying to do calligraphy with the fountain pens, and I was like, why is it not doing the strokes that I want? It felt like they were all the same stroke. So I was like, what is the point? It's like a ballpoint pen. So I kind of gave up with the calligraphy and just started drawing. This is the bold tip. I marked all the pages that I was using my friend's fountain pens, but this is the trial period where I spent 3 days just kind of experimenting. So this is the same pen. And then this is when we went to the fountain pen store, Dromgoals, and I tried a bunch of different ones. So the bold one, there's medium. Oh, the architect pen was one of my favorites, but it was like $800. I really want one in the future. Like maybe if I start doing more fountain pen things, but this one felt like it could be a calligraphy pen, but it was just so smooth, and it also had the broad, kind of like a broad tip, which I really like. So one day. This is a pink that I chose to fill the empty pen. This is a blue that I got, and then I was borrowing other friends' pens. Yeah, this is like a black fine tip, I think. This one I do not think is a fountain pen. But yeah, this was fun. I did like a little squiggle style. Here's some more, and the rest is history. There's a bunch in here where I'm borrowing other friends' pens, like this one. I don't have this color. These ones. This one. Yeah, there's so many pages now with fountain pens. Okay, so I would love for us to just do like a draw with me portion with my TWSBI. Like I said, my favorite tip is the broad tip just because I love doing line art. I also love that line art can be really thick, and I don't know, my style in general is just really smooth. So I'm gonna be drawing some prompts that my friends sent over Discord. So these are just images that they found on Pinterest, and I'm just gonna draw them from reference. As I'm drawing, I would love to talk about the things that I loved about fountain pens and some of the things that I was skeptical about. So hopefully this is helpful for someone who's just diving into the hobby and you were, I guess, as clueless as I was. I would love to share from my experience, and I don't know, maybe you'll be converted and get a bunch of pens and inks like I did, or maybe not. So the first thing that I will mention is how you use it, the angle that you hold the pen, and how hard you press it does matter. I think in the beginning, I didn't really understand how to hold it, and so sometimes the ink wouldn't flow or it just wouldn't come out, and that was really frustrating for me. I felt like, why did I need to change the angle at which I'm holding the pen? Like, I draw the way I draw, right? So why are you asking me to change the way I hold it? But the key is to hold it, I believe, at a 45-degree angle like you see here, and it should be parallel to the paper. Once you get a grip at how to hold it, I think it should flow much more smoothly. It's different for everyone too, I think. I'm someone who holds my pen kind of hard, like I put a lot of pressure. Adding pressure does make it so that the ink flows out better. So I would say, like, go to a store, or if you have a friend that has fountain pens, borrow theirs and just try it out for a couple of strokes and a couple of, drawings. The other thing that confused me was that it wasn't doing strokes like calligraphy pens. I went to design school and I was trained to use a calligraphy pen where the different angles did change the stroke weights. Some angles made it thinner, but I realized that fountain pens do not equal calligraphy pens. So off the bat, I was judging it incorrectly. So I would say most of the nibs that I tried and I got are just like typical fountain pen nibs. The variations are just like their thickness. So the one I'm using right now is the broad or bold, but like the other pens that I have like the medium, the fine, the extra fine, and there's like lots of different variations you can get. There are also calligraphy nibs you can get that create like, that swishy, scripty kind of line work that you would like. So I incorrectly judged fountain pens in that sense, and if you want to get a calligraphy pen that is a fountain pen, you can buy a custom nib for that. So going back to why I do like pens and what their appeals are is that they can be customized. So all these nibs, you can get a nib that's compatible with your pen and swap it out, and this way you can get the stroke that you want or the thickness that you want. Also, each pen is different in terms of how the ink is held in the reservoir. So for the TWSBI, it has its own filling mechanism, so I didn't have to buy a cartridge. I just got ink, and basically I can dip the nib into the ink and just refill it in this way. The Jinhao is the same, but again, like you guys saw for the Pilot, you would add the cartridge instead. Keep in mind that not all cartridges are compatible with all pens, so you do have to look up like which cartridge will fit in the pen brand that you have. Make sure that the ink that you're using also is a fountain pen compatible ink. I actually did try a ink that was not a fountain pen specific ink. I think it was just like some craft, ink, and it basically ruined the pen. So yeah, don't do that. Basically, make sure that the ink you get is compatible. I think I have a spread that I can show you guys that has the ink that I'm talking about that was not compatible. If you want to start with something cheap to get into this hobby, just like an entry-level thing, I would recommend getting the Pilot, for example, because it's like a cheap brand and it also comes with the ink cartridge itself, so you don't have to buy extra ink. That's something that you can just quickly get and it's already in the pen, so I definitely recommend the Pilot if you want to get started. So here's a demonstration of how the angle does matter. I'm using the back right now and it's really thin, but if I hold it at the 45 degree, it's really thick. So this can also change the way that the line weight works, and just practice holding it for sure. So thinking about the things that I love about fountain pens, I love the ink flow. So in my sketchbook, because my sketchbook has like thick paper, it does feel really nice when the ink can just flow a lot on the page and not bleed in. I love coloring it and just seeing how the ink fills in the negative space. This Washington green that I have from Sailor is just super nice, and different inks also have different finishes and different looks. So it's really subtle, and I don't know if you guys can see in the video, but there's like areas in the green that are really dark, areas that are kind of lighter, and that's the appeal of fountain pen ink, is that in different angles, different lightings, also on different paper, it changes the color, and depending on how much ink you add or color in, that also changes the color itself. Even though it's like the same ink, you know, it changes color, which is really cool. So something that I actually want to get in the future is ink that shimmers, like maybe you're drawing on it and in the beginning it's green, but then on the edges maybe it's red. And there's also like other inks that are gradients, so maybe you're writing with it and on one end it's dark blue and then on the other end it's like a bright pink. So that's the cool thing about ink is that there's so many different kinds, and you can customize your pens, especially for the TWSBI that I'm using right now. After I finish up with the screen, I can fill it with one of the purples or the red inks that I have. I'm actually going on a trip to Asia soon, to Taiwan, the motherland of TWSBI, so I will most likely be buying more inks and more pens. That's the other thing about this hobby, is that once you get into it, I feel like the customization is just endless, because I have this TWSBI that is holding the green ink, but you know, I can't use my red one or my purple one unless I get another pen basically. Or you can clean out your pen, so it's pretty easy to clean out. You just take off the pieces and you wash it with water. I'm not sure if you're supposed to wash it with soap. Yeah, you can YouTube that. But yeah, I'm gonna finish up the screen and then I can basically replace it. But if you didn't want to finish up the ink, or you know, if you didn't have the time yet to finish up the ink, you can always get another pen and then fill up that new pen with ink. So that's where the hobby starts getting expensive, because you start having like a new pen for every new color that you have. That's part of the reason why I bought the other brands like the Jinhao and the Hongdian, because I wanted to have other colors available so that I didn't have to wait for my TWSBI to finish. Also, what is this? Is this a marshmallow with headphones, or is it a dog? I don't know. What kind of character is that? I think another reason that I like fountain pens is the discovery part. So I really enjoy seeing the green, this Sailor Washington green on my notebook, but depending on the different papers that you use, it also changes colors. The ink just reacts differently to different types of paper. So I feel like, so on this sticky note, this is what the green looks like, versus on my sketchbook, here's what the green looks like. It's kind of subtle, but there are other papers that I've used where it's like drastically different. I think my camera died when I was filming this part, so I didn't have clips for me finishing up this last section of my book, but here is a spread that I did actually taking notes on this video, and I'm using the long knife tip instead of the TWSBI. Anyways, that's my summary of fountain pens. I hope it was helpful and hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys later, and thanks for watching. Let me know what you think and if you're gonna get into the hobby. Okay, bye!